Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman. We're talking Main Street and the small business lenders to help it grow. The band is back together. Lance, good to see you. You're an old rock and roll guy. What was your instrument?
Bob, I never really played much other than the piano. I have a lot more musically inclined relatives than I am.
Yeah, well, I'm in the same boat. Let's see what Katie, and what's your instrument?
Writing.
Writing, songwriting, your vocals.
Now, Bob, ask me what I wish my instrument was.
What?
The drums.
Drums, oh yeah. All right, hey, we got a lot of stuff. Sorry about that. Lance, it's good to banter with you. I'm glad you're back. You're looking great. Very good. So let's get into it. This came out this morning. SBA updated the policies on IRS 4506 transcripts, and our first question out of the box is, hey, can we disperse a loan without the 4506 transcript?
I have a follow-up question on that, Bob.
Katie, what's the answer?
They are correct, at least with the disbursement. I don't want to give away the next one, but that is the key word there.
All right, Lance, that's your follow-up question.
Will they do it? Because
excellent question.
I know many participant lenders prior to COVID, prior to this, that would not even approve an SBA loan until they got the tax transcripts back, which is not required by the SOP. The SOP's always said you can't disperse it until you get the transcripts back. Now this new release says you can approve and disperse without having the transcripts back.
But
so how many actually do it?
Yeah, be more specific, Katie. Under what circumstances can we do this?
Well, I think, yeah, sure. So that's going to be specifically a situation where you don't have them yet. You've waited 10 business days, still no answer. Then you may process and close and disperse the loan, but you also must follow up with the IRS. If necessary, you're going to have a second request. Make sure that second request is in the file and that you've documented that you've done that. And then, of course, at the end, perform a verification and resolve any significant differences between the IRS response and what you did.
But as we say, what would Lance do? Lance would say no.
It's a tough one, Bob, because you don't want to hold up an SBA loan because the IRS has not responded. And this release does give you 6 months, to reconcile the tax transcripts. So I don't know what the timing is on getting tax transcripts back right now. I know it's slower, but if you've got a borrower who does a pretty good job of submitting their tax returns, and you know who that is. I mean, guys, we know who to have concern about and who not to.
Yeah, I agree with you, Lance. You have a company with 5 years. Here's my tax returns for the last 5 years, and they're consistent, and they all look good. And
here's the reality of it, Bob. I've done this a long time, and if you submitted 100 different requests for tax transcripts, you might have 2 or 3% of those have a variance that you have to reconcile, but a vast majority of them are going to be check, 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 check. Everything's fine. So,
follow-up question: can we fund the PPP loan without the 4506? There we go. Of course we can, because we don't even need tax returns, right, Lance?
Yeah, there's no requirement for a 4506T or tax returns on a PPP loan.
But we do need to schedule Cs for if you have a sole proprietorship, but we don't need to verify that, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Number 3, interesting. This is a question for Katie or from Katie. Restaurant borrowers will be able to access the Restaurant Revitalization Fund directly through their point of sale system, such as a QuickBooks or, very good. Katie, yeah, we'll talk about that in a second, but that is true. The SBA is getting.
It is.
That's an incredibly cool feature of that program, and I just would love to find out, Katie and Bob, how well it's working.
Yeah, let's go into that now. I think we resolved the temporary changes to 4506. Katie, what is SBA saying, and is this going to work?
Yeah, so I can't answer if it's going to work yet because obviously the program isn't up and running yet. But I do think it's a very unique and interesting idea. They're essentially already partnered with groups such as Clover, NCR Corporation, Square, and Toast. I imagine there's going to be additional groups as well later on, but those are a good start. And the idea is just to make sure that those small businesses have another point of contact with this program so they're aware of the program and so it's in front of them, opposed to them just having to check on the SBA website constantly to find out if it's available or if they're eligible. This would help them be more aware of the program altogether.
Well, my question is, if we're going to allow QuickBooks and these companies do it, why don't we allow the bank to do it as well, Lance?
Well, that's a great question, Bob. And, my big question here now, guys, I've never owned a restaurant, but my family was in the restaurant business for 32 years. And so, I do have some experience related to that. These services like Square and Clover, are they running everything through there? Are they just accessing it, or is that being used to determine the difference in revenue from 2019?
Well, that's predominantly, yeah, it's their credit card. It's their credit card receipts.
Yeah. So what happens to cash purchases?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They're not financial statements. The entrepreneur controls what they put into QuickBooks in this, but I do know a number of banks do offer credit card service merchant processing. Square and PayPal hasn't stolen that entire business. But I think I raised the question, but I will take the step back and say my initial reaction, this is great. This is positive. We're looking for new channels. This is not a competition for the lenders. This was never a fund that the lenders could do. And the bottom line, it is a positive logistical solution for your borrowers. That's how I view it, Lance.
I agree 100%, Bob. Finding other avenues for people to access funding is a great idea, a great partnership. I just want to see some of the mechanics. Katie knows where I'm going. Some of the mechanics of how this is actually going to work.
Notice I threw that one to Katie. I threw that question to Katie. I let her say, because I have no idea.
Yeah, no, this is a new announcement. And of course, as it gets running, we'll be kind of following it to see how it's working. But I think it is an interesting idea, expanding into a new avenue. It might take a little pressure off of some of the lenders and other people who are handling the PPP and things like that right now. But it's just a different program that's very new and interesting.
Katie, do we know when the date is that these portals will open with SBA on the restaurant side?
On the restaurant side, sometime within the next 2 weeks, they're planning on doing a 7-day trial period. They haven't released the dates on that yet, but what it's going to be is they're going to have PPP borrowers who are also eligible for this restaurant revitalization fund. They're going to have them test the program, test the application and everything like that. Then they're going to open it up to a wider audience, at first to minorities, women-owned businesses, and veterans. And then they're going to open up fully in another about 2 to 3 weeks after that.
And don't SBA, and we know you're busy, but don't forget our 504 refi rules. We're waiting with those with a bated breath. The other one that we're talking about is shuttered venue. What's happening with that, Katie?
Yeah, so yesterday the SBA updated their website for the shuttered venue operators grant. It looks like they're planning on opening that on Saturday, April 24th. That's going to be completely through SBA. Again, it's not on the lender side. However, it's a great program for businesses that need this. There are shuttered businesses that definitely need this program. and it's good for lenders to know it exists to direct their borrowers there if they're eligible.
Very good. We have from our friends down in Texas, we're going to try some new technology here, which hopefully it works. But we're going to do that at the end, just in case something blows up. Let's go back and talk about our rocket scientist, which our Katie said I can't call him a rocket scientist. I wanted to, but he's a senior executive. What, Lance?
You can call him a rocket scientist.
No, Katie wouldn't let me. Katie wouldn't let me.
I think he's in
What
finance.
did our rocket scientist do?
Hey,
Yeah,
Bob,
so
just to share with you and Katie, my Algebra 2 and calculus teacher in high school called them scientific rockets, not rocket scientists.
I'm sure there's a reason why Mr. Brain Fog
I don't know.
gave us that. Lance, you're fading fast. Thank you for that, Lance. We appreciate that. All right, Katie.
Yeah, so this man earlier this week pleaded guilty to not only PPP fraud, but he also attempted EIDL fraud as well as some state unemployment funds. What he was doing is essentially just creating fake documents, submitting these applications in fake businesses' names on behalf of his wife and his mother-in-law, who neither of them apparently knew that he was doing this. And he did that for both the PPP and EIDL. And then for the unemployment, he claimed the mother-in-law was running some kind of childcare service, and she in fact has never worked in childcare. In total, I think he applied for $350,000, and he managed to get $272,000 from PPP and another $15,950 from the state unemployment benefits.
I think this is the first time, Lance, we've seen pay a dog breeder as a use of proceeds.
That wouldn't typically hit the mark, Bob.
Look, and these guys make a lot of money. I mean, why you would destroy your career over this? We're talking basically 2 years salaries, maybe 3 years salaries. He can make.
I think actually it's close to his 1 year salary, to be honest. I think they listed it at one point. The big problem here too is this is a man that was really trusted at NASA. And you know, if you're a banker and you're looking at his applications, he probably looked fairly trustworthy on the surface. So that's definitely a concern there.
Yeah, it's sad. Lisa votes for me. She says rocket scientist too funny. So yeah.
And Bob, here's one of the problems. Most of our PPP fraudsters opted for Lambos, opted for Porsches. This guy opted for a minivan.
Well, he got a pool out of it. Yeah, but the minivan, well, he's, rescue, not even a rescue dog. You have a dog breeder. Jimmy says Shattered Venue opens tomorrow at 12:30, which p.m. Eastern, which would be,
yes, which
is consistent. Thanks, Jimmy. Susanna, you've asked a long question about Shattered Venue. I'm going to hold off on that because we're not, in fact, I'll put this on the PPP answer desk. You asked very specific things. They're great questions, but for our purposes, since we're not processing them, we'll put that on there. We do have a question on PPP, Lance, and basically the question is, hey, for when I do my forgiveness calculation, I had some back taxes, and can I use those back when I paid off those back taxes, can I put that in my forgiving calculation?
Bob, they're not going to get forgiven for what they paid on back taxes. Although, in my mind, it might not be a horrible use of proceeds. It's not a use of proceeds on a PPP loan that will result in forgiveness. And of course, if we all think back to our 7A lending,
Oh yeah, it's an absolute no-no.
cannot pay back taxes with 7A loan proceeds, but that's, now on a PPP loan, Bob, I'm not saying you can't pay those back taxes, but you will not be forgiven for the amount spent on the back taxes. Now, the PPP
No one's
borrower,
going to be indicted. Lenders aren't going to lose guarantees.
No.
Okay.
I think the thing that they need to do is take a quick look at their 941s, make sure that the PPP loan funds are not adequately covered by payroll, then drop down and look at mortgage interest, utilities, and of course they've opened up some other expense categories in this current round of PPP that are forgiven, but back taxes is not one of them. So if that's will not be forgiven.
And I should know this, I don't, so for Katie and Lance, but for forgiveness for PPP2, 60% of the funds have to go for payroll?
Payroll, that's correct.
Okay, so very good. All right, well, we're going to try something new. This is, as I said, courtesy of the University of Texas Chuttered Venue, and we did a 90-second clip, and this is important stuff. There are two things that the lender can do. So let's go ahead and run that. Oh, hold on. Let's see. When we run the video, remind the audience they may have to click on the video for audio. Or okay, so and note, you, Lance, and Katie will get muted when the video starts. So let's see what happens.
Here's what businesses need to know now. Entities will be required to obtain a DUNS number and register in the System for Award Management, or SAM.gov. A DUNS number is a unique 9-character number used to identify your organization, and the federal government uses the DUNS number to track how federal money is allocated. The System for Award Management, or SAM, is a federal government-owned and operated free website that consolidates the capabilities in the central contractor registration, online representations and certification applications, and the excluded parties list system. Both of these systems take time. It takes 24 to 48 hours to apply for a DUNS number, and it takes up to 15 business days to become active in SAM. You must be active in SAM in order to apply for the Shuttered Venues grant. So don't delay, start the process today. We will continue to bring you relevant and new information as it becomes available. As always, you may reach out to us through our website or call us directly at 210-458-2272, and a business advisor will be happy to speak with you. Thank you for your time and have a great day.
Nice.
How'd that work? Do you guys see that okay?
Oh, that was perfect, Bob. Audio was great. Video was great. And of course, it's my friends at the Small Business Technology.
And I apologize. We should give this nice lady credit. Do we know her name offhand? Anyway, good job. No, so that's interesting. I'd like to know, Joseph, how was it at your end? Did it look okay?
Yeah, look good. Sounded good. If you had any problems, I can send everyone the link if you couldn't see it. So just let me know.
Yeah, it looks like we have a few comments saying that they weren't able to see the video, so we'll have to look into that.
Joseph, can we put together real quick a poll question on how many people had issues? And then we'll sign off. Just say, were you able to see the video okay?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Well, I think the great thing,
Monica just says, by the way, they're right, but note that it can also take up to 30 days for SAM to set up your accounts with SAM. So I thought that what was interesting, what the takeaway is on this is if you have a Shuttered Venue client, they need to get that SAM's on SAM, Lance.
yeah, they need to make sure they're registered at sam.gov and make sure they have a DUNS number.
What about the restaurant program? Katie, do you know if they need
The
that as well?
restaurant program, they will not need it. That's what's somewhat unique about that program, is they're trying to reach more people by not requiring it. But absolutely, if the borrower needs a shuttered venue grant, then they're going to need to go ahead and sign up with SAM and do all that stuff. So that's something that they should be aware of, and they can go ahead and do that right now and prepare, even though the program's not open right now.
Well, those are disappointing numbers. 1 out of 4 couldn't access it, so we'll still work on that. But that could be something very interesting that we can do in the future. Hey, thank you all for being guinea pigs on that. Everyone have a nice weekend. And thank you for joining us for Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street. One entrepreneur at a time.
Have a great weekend.